Hello and welcome to Open Horn of Africa. This is Future Africa program and I'm your host Fantam Belete. Today I'm joined by Dr. Tegenu Gosa, a researcher on African history from Israel. Dr. Tegenu, a very warm welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about yourself and how you came to live in Israel?
I came to live in Israel. Actually, I came here to study in 2014 for my PhD study, and I finished my PhD study in African archaeology in 2020. But since then, I'm living here, and I'm originally from RC province of my hometown is around Bogoji, hometown of athletes, as you know, famous athletes in Ethiopia. And I studied my BA in Haramaya University, and I graduated in 2004. And since then, I was teaching in various institutions, including Arba Minch University. And I studied my MA in Addis Ababa University, and I graduated in archaeology back in 2011. So I came here originally to study.
How does the global community understand the current situation in Ethiopia?
To be honest, it's very unfortunate to talk about this topic. As you know, finding ourselves in some kind of conflict again. As you know, Ethiopian history is a history of wars and conflicts, as some historians try to portray, and which is partly true. And the fact that whatever the reason is, as an Ethiopian, as an African, I feel really sad and unfortunate to find ourselves in this conflict. And coming to your question, the world in general and the public and the Israelis get their information about Ethiopia from bigger medias, the influential medias of the world, and the reaction is always mixed, as you know. Friends of Ethiopia who Israelis and friends of Ethiopia here, whom I know, they're really concerned, and they feel sorry, and they say that they wish it will be resolved and Ethiopia will be back to development agendas than this war, and they really hope that this thing will end soon. And as you know, local medias in this country barely report on this topic, and I saw a few times an Ethiopian ambassador giving some public briefings. Some webinars are going on, especially for the Ethiopian community here. Generally, it's the Western media or the bigger medias that influences the narration of what's going on. As you know, the TPLF and their allies abroad are trying to portray this picture as if they are the victims, but this is not true, as we all know. But again, we are fighting with and we are confronted with a bigger media, millions of followers, something like that. So I can't say that everybody here and beyond has really the true picture, the understanding of the true picture of what is going on.
The atrocity committed by terrorist TPLF on national security and economy would remain part of its legacy among Ethiopians. But do you think the global community properly understood such crime of the group?
But as you know, that the entire Western media, including, mentioning a few of them, like CNN and BBC, even Al Jazeera, France 24, you mention it. And these medias represent their own government in one way or another, even though they say that they're free medias, private medias, but I do not believe so. They are part and parcel of what the foreign missions of their governments. And they do not want to. And there is, behind this media conglomerates, there are political figures who who are in the driving seat of how narrations, what and how things will be reported. So I don't think it's a matter of not being able to find the truth. It's a matter of having sites, and they already, most of them have sided with the TPLF, and so I don't think there is a true picture, and it's a matter of will, to be honest.
What do you think cemented the friendship between TPLF and the Western superpowers and their agencies?
Yeah, this is a very good question, and the simple answer to this is during their reign, when TPLF was ruling the country for the last 27 years or something, they were the loyal servants of the Western powers. This is the simplest answer to as a result of which they're somehow trying to help them regain the power they lost with the popular resistance. They were removed from power, and the Western powers, the Europeans and the Americans specifically, they think whatever political and geopolitical interest they do have in the Horn of Africa can be better served by TPLF. So they're not happy, or they did not get what they want with the current government of Abiy Ahmed. And specifically, I should mention the fact that they are not happy with the restoration of peace and alliance that is created between Eritrea and Ethiopia, as a result of which they continue to support TPLF no matter what. This is specifically related to the long history and service TPLF provided when they were on power.
Some people think that the proxy war in Ethiopia is part of a proxy war rooted in geopolitical confrontation between global superpowers. What is your assessment on this one?
This is interesting. And how on earth is the Nobel Peace Prize winning Prime Minister leading this protracted war again? And this is sad, and this is unexpected, whatever. People try to say so. And this is not a civil war. This is a proxy war, definitely. And to understand this one, we have to put things in context. There is a geopolitical context going on, and we can take an example from history to understand this, what's going on in the Horn of Africa specifically, or generally, or in Ethiopia specifically. And when we come to the geopolitics of the day, let me put it this way. There is a new global order going on in the world today. We are on the eve of new global order, whether we like it or not. And for so long, since the disintegration of USSR or since the end of Cold War, the world is unipolar, dominated by the West. And now that thing is definitely changing with the rise of Chinese to global supremacy, and the continuation of the Chinese seeking cooperation-based multilateral world, multilateralism as a way forward, and with the fast growth of the Chinese economy, which is really about to take over the American one. This is creating competition, and this is creating huge, even confrontation, to be honest. And we have to look this into a context. And we can take one example in which the Chinese Road and Belt Initiative, that is already declared, and that's already being under development, huge development, which includes the Red Sea region, in which Ethiopia is part and parcel. And actually, in this Road and Belt Initiative, Addis Ababa or Ethiopia is considered to be one of the hub of this massive economic zone or massive economic link. And this is not liked by the West. This is the West consider this to be a significant threat to their future economic benefit, whatever, in the region. And as you know, the Red Sea region is the center of global trade, where 80% of global trade network goes through, especially between the Asia and Europe. So this is important. And the fact that the Chinese have already huge investments and the collaboration, cooperation, economic activity already in the Horn of Africa, including Ethiopia, this is creating huge tension with the West. And the second factor here in terms of geopolitics is about the ongoing Ukraine-Russian conflict, which has brought, again, the West and Russia, another huge military power, if not economic, in the eastern side of the world, into the heightened political and military confrontation. So there is a real fear that we are heading, people fear that they were heading into maybe another global war as a result of this conflict going on. And the Russians are making their presence in the Horn of Africa at the same time because they want to secure the Red Sea region. In the Red Sea region, their influence. And as you know, that the Russians are trying to build their military base in Sudan, and they are fostering great political and even somehow diplomatic relationship with Eritrea. And this is, again, not liked by the West. These two global events going on is creating massive tension. And to be honest, I feel like it looks like history is repeating in itself. And what's happening in this part of the world, or generally in the world today, as I said, and in the formation of this new global order, things look like Cold War era of 1970s, of course, it started since 1950s. And in that Cold War period, where the superpowers from the East and West, led by the Americans and the Russians, on the other side, they went into all kinds of confrontation. Who suffered the most? The global South suffered the most. The Cold War is considered to be called for the superpowers, but it was a massive and hot war for the global South. We can mention the Angolan Civil War, taking just an African example. We can even take as an example the Ethiopian and the Somali War, when Ziad Barre invaded Ethiopia in 1977. The Vietnamese War we can take outside of Africa. The Korean War that resulted in the division of the peninsula into two separate countries. These are all massive wars that occurred as a result of the Cold War. So what we see today is basically the reflection of what had happened. And so history tells us that when the West is confronted with this kind of massive competition, they could do anything to secure their interest. That's why they are rallying behind the TPLF, because these are loyal servants of this. We can look at, we can take examples of the examples from history of Africa during this Cold War, what had happened and how the West were reacting when they are confronted by this massive confrontation with other superpower. And I can take an example for them, and as I say, they could do whatever it takes to enforce their influence in the region, in Africa and beyond. Diplomatically, even with a military intervention, they are not really reserved for that matter. And I give you 2 or 3 examples. 2 of them are actually very important. When DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, was liberated, the first prime minister was Patrice Lumumba. And Patrice Lumumba, because he was leaning toward the Russians, the Russian camp, he was assassinated by CIA and Belgians in 1961. Patrice Lumumba, when he was assassinated, is a very young, vibrant leader of the age of 35. He was assassinated. Who coordinated it? CIA and the Belgians. After that, Mobutu Seko came to power, and he ruled Congo for 32 years with heavy hand. Mobutu Seko is known to be one of the most corrupt leaders in Africa and despotic and authoritarian regime. The West did not care about this guy. And it's estimated that Mobutu have stolen something in the region of $5 to $10 billion from the Congolese property. Another example is assassination of Thomas Sankara, who was the president of Burkina Faso, who is known in the 4 years of staying in power. He transformed Burkina's education. And this guy was removed from power and assassinated by his own friend, Blaise Compaoré, in 1987. He is another young and vibrant leader. And it is said that it's the French who coordinated the killing, the deposition and killing of Thomas Sankara. After he is gone, Blaise Compaoré took over and led Burkina Faso for 27 years. And he is another very corrupt guy. We can take another very, very recent example. It is the NATO allies that removed another Pan-Africanist leader, Muammar Gaddafi, from power and eventually killed him. As the French, the British, and Canadian Air Force participated in bombing Libya, and they removed him from power and killed him. Look at Libya of today. Total chaos, divided, disintegrated basically. And Muammar Gaddafi, no matter whatever he has done in his own country and to his people, it's up to the Libyans to change their government. He is a huge Pan-Africanist figure there. I say the 2 young leaders of Africa that was assassinated in the process of Cold War gives us an example as to what the West can do when they are confronted with another global superpower. And when they think that their interest is threatened, they can go to any lengths. That is why exactly the Western powers cannot stand young, vibrant, visionary leaders like Abiy Ahmed. They can't stand. They can't stand leaders who stand for the interest of their own country. What happened to Patrice Lumumba and what happened to Thomas Sankara should give us really, really an example. It's not about love, it's not about appreciation of Abiy Ahmed. It's because Abiy Ahmed's policy initiatives are transforming the economy of Ethiopia. And they know that. The success this government is achieving in wheat production and the rolling of GERD, Great Renaissance Dam of Ethiopia, towards completion is signaling to them. And the fact that this guy is defying taking orders from them, gives us the true picture of where these guys are standing, the West are standing, and why they are standing against it, why they are continuously supporting TPLF, no matter what they are doing. Even though they could see, and they have plenty of information as to what's going on, who is the culprit and who is instigating all this conflict. They turn blind eyes towards the truth, and they continue to support this people. The picture behind it, this one, the one I told you, they can't stand visionary leaders. This is important. And don't forget that the Americans and the Europeans has not recognized Abiy Ahmed's government to be a democratically elected government as yet. They have not recognized it, which means they are not willing to respect the will of Ethiopian people. They are not. Because they know what this guy is up to. Transformation of Ethiopian agriculture will guarantee self-sufficiency. If we manage to feed ourselves, they know down the line that their aid organizations do not have place in Ethiopia. And as we all know, aid organizations and their overseas companies are the main channels through which they try to enforce their policies on Africa. That is what is going on. And I can talk later about GERD.
Do you think that the proxy war in northern part of Ethiopia is a war only with Ethiopia?
Not at all. As I said, this is part and parcel. Basically, Ethiopia is fighting geopolitical war, as I try to trace the geopolitical and historical even context of it. And I can add on this one. I talked about how the transformation of Ethiopian agriculture is going to negate the main channel of Western influence in Ethiopia. I can add one more. Let us see what's happening with Great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. And people say that, and I do agree that the assessment is GERD is going to transform Ethiopian economy because it's going to provide energy requirements for Ethiopian manufacturing, and it's going to provide electricity for households of 60 million and plus of Ethiopians. And again, there is an estimate that Ethiopia can generate up to $1 billion from energy sale, which means that besides the money, this GERD is going to be the source of regional economic integration, because from the energy sale is going to be to neighboring countries like Sudan, maybe Eritrea, Djibouti, even Kenya, and beyond, including maybe Egypt. There are all these economic benefits of GERD people mention. For me, GERD is more than that. I think GERD is a symbol of African economic independence. This is the most important thing, you will not forget. Why do I say this? This mega project is 100% financed by Ethiopian government and Ethiopian people. This is a peak of self-reliance. And this is what is required for Africans to do. We know that the West blocked access to loans for the construction of this project from IMF, World Bank, and other governments. We could not get a single penny, a single dollar of loan because the West blocked it. So the Ethiopian people rallied, and Ethiopian government is committed to 100% finance this massive project. And this is the true reflection of what self-reliance is. And this is going to inspire other Africans to exploit their resource by their own money. The West knows this. That's why I say GERD is a symbol of African economic independence. It is the most important, this is the most important factor. Why the West is continuing to pressure Ethiopia to sign a binding agreement with the Egyptians. to the extent we will never forget what Trump said, that Egypt could bomb it. This is not just a talk. And now let me connect this thing, how it will inspire Africa. Congo, the second largest river in the world, can generate about 100,000 megawatt of energy if it is exploited. This energy can power the entire Africa. This is scientific estimate. But Congolese could not benefit from this resource because Congo is in a continuous cycle of conflict. Who are leading this conflict? Actors ranging from neighboring countries all the way to the major global powers do have hand in the ongoing conflict in Congo. As a result of which, people talk about Congo, Eastern Congo, diamond, cobalt, whatever minerals. No, there is something more. The Congolese river by itself is the future of African energy. Congolese could not build a dam. They tried to, nothing came through. GERD is going to inspire the Congolese and other countries to exploit their resources by themselves, given that they will get their country back. This is what I wanted to add.
Latest development shows that the Ethiopian National Force is controlling key and major cities in Tigray region, and the Tigray forces are on the run. Following this, some TPLF backing Western countries are launching media war on Ethiopia and the National Army. What is your message to these countries?
As I said earlier, this is a very coordinated media campaign, and we know their mission behind this one. And they're turning blind eye towards for the truth, and but with the resilience and unity of Ethiopian people behind their government and behind their cause, which is the truth, Ethiopians will succeed eventually. It is going to cost us economically. It's going to cost us in terms of infrastructure, and sadly in terms of many Ethiopian lives on both sides. The Tigrayan people, our own people, are suffering in the hand of the TPLF that's taking them hostage. And I do hope and I do feel that they will be liberated also. And the West, I advise them to come to their senses. And they should come to their senses to the fact that the world is changing and they are not going to stop this one. And they should respect nations, and they should stop bullying nations, and they should come to the truly multilateral world. And I doubt they will listen to this one, but I hope they will learn their lesson.
What should Africans do to put an end to such proxy war and ensure lasting peace and stability of the countries?
This is a crucial one. And that said that the way forward for Africa is cooperation and solidarity with one another, creating really solid economic integration is the way forward. And Ethiopia should succeed in completing GERD and other mega projects. And I hope this will be a good inspiration for everyone, and fostering this regional and at the same time continental cooperation and solidarity would be the way forward. And Africans should be united more than ever, because of the fact that there is a massive wave of influence coming in a context of the geopolitical order and the global order that is shaping out. I mentioned earlier, the pressure and the bullying is going to continue. And it's going to affect many countries, economically, politically, socially and otherwise. And African countries are going to be required to choose sides. And everybody should stand and work on how to withstand all this. It's not tomorrow, it should be today. Africans should be united and solidarity should be cultivated. The Ethiopian diplomats should work towards this one. And specifically, I have this kind of message for Ethiopian diplomats working in different parts of Africa, has big responsibility of cultivating this cooperation and solidarity. And the intellectuals of Ethiopia and other Africans should work together on how to create a common front against what is the wave that is coming. Otherwise, there is a lot at stake here.
Doctor, do you have any message before concluding this session?
Great. And what I want to say is, for Ethiopian people, even if the conflict in northern part of Ethiopia ends tomorrow, the pressure will not end. It will continue. I told you, as long as we seek and pursue the path of economic freedom, which negates neo-colonial interest, as long as this escalation of confrontations in between the global superpowers continues, and sadly again, as long as there are many groups locally in Ethiopia who want us to be the next loyal servants of the West, we have many of them, sadly, this pressure will continue. So the solution should be, for Ethiopians, we should stand united. Ethiopian people need to rally behind their government, the government they chose. And at the same time, we should continue to foster solidarity and cooperation with our neighbors and beyond, and other African countries, and countries in the world that believe in mutual respect. We should continue to cultivate solidarity. And there is a lot at stake for us and for Africans because of the reasons I mentioned. This conflict and this proxy war that's going on, the pressure that is coming on, the wave of pressures that continue to galvanize us, trying to galvanize, is a matter that what is at stake is restoring our dignity, our ability to feed ourselves, and guarantee food self-sufficiency, and guarantee our economic freedom, and live as a proud nation. This is at stake. So we should stand together, and we should be united. There is no stepping back from this, by the way. Even if we submit back and we are going to be crushed first. It's not about keeping the Abiy Ahmed's government in power or not. It's about our survival. It's about restoring our dignity. We are on the right path. So the wave is going to be much stronger as we go forward and as the global confrontation is increasing, and we need to buckle up and move forward. And we should stand united, and we should move forward. No retreat, no stepping back. This is my last message for Ethiopian people.
Dr. Tegenu Gosa, researcher on African history, thank you very much for giving us your precious time and analyzing the current situation in Ethiopia. Dear viewers of OBN Horn of Africa, I hope that you have got some important information from the analysis. Till we meet with another analysis with another guest, stay blessed.